Welcome back to another episode here on the Heart Hustle Podcast. Miss Alexis, how you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing well, you friends. Good to see you.
Same. New York, right? Is that where you from? That's what we're at right
Yes,
now?
I'm a Brooklyn girl working in Queens now, but I'm a New Yorker, you know.
I
At,
hear it. I hear it.
yeah,
Born and
absolutely.
raised?
Yes, born and raised in Brooklyn, in Little Caribbean, East Flatbush, Brooklyn. And I often joke I didn't realize that I was born in America until I was about 10 years old because it's this beautiful ethnic enclave of folks from all over the Caribbean. But it was a beautiful childhood and a once in a lifetime opportunity to be raised in such a diverse and
Yeah,
colorful and vibrant community.
I agree. I don't know if you've experienced racism, but it's always crazy when someone says, even my wife, right? My wife is a black woman that was raised, I would say, in a white community. So people would automatically say, "Oh, you're white, right?" Or the way you speak, or this or the other. So she just mentioned all the different things and racism she's experienced. But almost like
Mm,
to you, I kind of grew up in a very melting pot where it was very diverse to me. So I don't know that I've received that. So it
yeah.
looks like you did you receive that at some point, or was it when you got older?
And I have to say that I really believe that humans have this uncanny ability to rank and to sort and to separate. And so even though I grew up in this beautiful Caribbean enclave, there was always this, undertone of certain Caribbean groups were less than and,
Mm,
certain Caribbean groups were better than. And I did find it problematic. Do I think it was pervasive? Not really. But I think there was, definitely this undercurrent that ran through the community, particularly with my Haitian brothers and sisters, right? I'm going to be very frank. There was oftentimes this sentiment or this feeling that you shouldn't converse with or communicate with them. I always leaned into my Haitian brothers and sisters. I think if you really know what the history is of Haitian people, you should lean into them. They're quite inspiring. They're go-getters, they're hard workers, like much of the folks who live in the Caribbean. So, I had some early experiences with that, but with racism in particular, not really. I mean, the vast
that's
majority of
good.
people in my neighborhood were black. Those experiences did come later though. Those
Yeah,
those
yeah,
were very
yeah.
jarring.
Adult, yeah, you had to
Yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
learn them.
Yeah.
Where's your family from? Because I did hear that there was an accent. You mentioned the Caribbeans.
So, I never hear the accent, but people hear it. My family's from Jamaica,
Okay.
and being born first generation is very interesting because I always say it's like you're raised like you're in Jamaica, but in America. Which is why I said a few minutes ago, I didn't even realize until I was 10, I was like American. But yeah, they're from Jamaica. My great grandmother came here. She was sponsored, became what they call back then a domestic, which is really a housekeeper and a cook. And she kind of sent for my father and his siblings. And the rest is history.
Wow. My
Yeah.
best friend's Jamaican, so let me tell you, I be eating Jamaican food all the
Yes,
time. What is
yeah.
your favorite Jamaican dish?
So curry chicken with white rice and steamed cabbage and carrots. So it's like I had that response right.
I'm about to say you almost like you ate it last night or something. I know Sundays the rice and peas and steamed
Yes.
chicken night for you as well?
Yes. So Sundays we cook, and once again I'm first generation, but I cooked yesterday. Like it is blasphemy if you do not cook in a
Yeah.
Jamaican household on a Sunday. Usually start. I was like finished cooking by like 1 o'clock. This is whole thing. Like you got to get up early and you cook. So that's been like kind of instilled in me. And sometimes I turn to my husband on a Sunday. I'm like, can we order Chinese? And I feel so bad. And his family's from Jamaica as well. And he's like, it's okay. Our parents aren't around. We can sneak in a
That is
Chinese.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's navigating, right? The Jamaicanness, the Americanness is something that's always ongoing with me and with him as well.
I like spicy, so give me some jerk chicken. I love oxtails. I just feel like there's
Yeah.
not enough meat on the
Yeah.
bone, but listen, I love
Yeah.
it. I don't really celebrate Thanksgiving, but we celebrate Friendsgiving, and it's the best
Yes.
thing ever because we get a little bit of everything, all types of food. Because, as you mentioned, diversity. Even in our own families, just
Yeah.
having Filipino, having an
Mhm.
American, having a Jamaican, having someone Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican, so just
Yeah.
having all these types of meals. But I'm always looking for my homie. Like when I say he throw it down, first of all, he don't know how to cook for 1 or 2 people. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
That's a Jamaican thing. He
I
cooked for the whole
agree.
army, is what I'm saying. Okay. I go to his house the other day. He says, "Yo, I didn't make all the food," and I'm like, Really? Because I see about 7 trays up here on this counter.
It's hard. Yeah, that's the other thing that we don't know how to cook for one, but that I would agree with that. I have the same problem. Yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
that means when I'm in New York, I was actually supposed to be there actually, because you guys have Fanatic Fest coming this weekend and
Mhm.
wrestling coming this weekend. But
Yeah.
my best friend said she's about to be she's giving birth in about a month or two. So is her baby shower this weekend,
Mhm.
and I was voluntold to go to Arizona where it's super hot. Like if I'm not
Yes.
already in hot.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be in New York, but now I know in New York I go on a Sunday and you're gonna have extra food for me. So
Yes, you
it's a
gotta hit
vibe.
me
It's a
up, and then
vibe.
if it's a Chinese food Sunday, right, or a pizza Sunday, I'll be sure to give you some good
Say
spots.
less.
I
Say
mean,
less.
it's that's as I said, Flavish is the best place to be if you want good Caribbean food. And so I'll make sure that I give you a real robust list.
Yo, I love that I just heard the ambulance because I swear that's New York all day. Like wherever
Yes,
you
yes.
at, you about to hear it. You about to hear
Please
it.
the ambient noise.
That is too funny. Alexis, we didn't let people know what school you're representing. What's the organization and what is your current role with them?
Yeah, so I am at LaGuardia Community College. I'm the vice president for student affairs, and LaGuardia is a part of the CUNY system. CUNY is the City University of New York, and it's located in Long Island City, Queens. And we are one of over 20 campuses situated throughout the five boroughs.
Wow. And what brought you to that? Like, is it something that you just got there and never left? Usually that's what happens with a lot of people. How'd that experience come about?
So it's interesting you said got there and never left because that's how I feel about CUNY. Like I got to CUNY and never left. But I started my CUNY journey at LaGuardia. I was an adjunct faculty person and I was teaching, I think like I had an 8 course class load and then got an opportunity to become a faculty member at McGivers College, which is a predominantly Black institution in central Brooklyn, really founded out of this social justice movement, very community based. About 88% of the students there were Black. Beautiful diasporic representation, Africans and Black Americans and Caribbean Americans. And I started there as a Sikh counselor, and Seek is an opportunity program that provides a lot of academic and psychosocial support to students. Eventually, I became the associate director of the program. And then the president at the time tapped me to become dean of students. And so I spent several years as dean of students. It was a beautiful time, but I began to really feel like I can do more. And so I sought out an opportunity at LaGuardia as vice president for student affairs, and of course was fortunate enough to be, positioned now and functioning in this role as a BPSA, as they say in CUNY. So I'm really blessed and very grateful, and it's been an awesome journey.
It's always cool just kind of see the evolution of it all. But which one is your favorite role? You would say you've done so many of them.
Dean of students, hand down,
Yeah,
hands down, hands down. I didn't even let you finish the
I'm about
sentence.
to say she knew it.
Hands down. VP is very difficult, right? Because, and I have a dean now. He's awesome. He's very steadfast, even tempered, not like me. I'm not even tempered. I'm not patient. And the point is, as dean, you're in this beautiful position where you are an administrator, but you're so close to the students. You're constantly with them. You're constantly working with them. And I think you see their development in real time,
Hmm.
but you get the beauty of seeing that as like an administrator at the college, because as an administrator, you have power to influence policy, to influence process. When you become VP, I think there's a shift that takes place because you are responsible for students and you are responsible for ensuring that you create an environment conducive to their success, but you're VP. And so your primary concern in some ways has to be what's best for the institution.
Love it.
And in many ways, I grapple with that because sometimes what's best for the institution is not something that's going to make students happy. And I think as dean, you have the freedom to say screw the institution because you're dean of students. You're so close
Hmm.
to them, so dedicated to them. And so I miss that. And I also miss that the activity. When you're a dean, you're in everything. You're at all the parties, you're at all the events, you're in all the selfies, you're on the 360 machine in a photo. I mean, it's just a good time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And now, it's more meetings than anything because I oversee personnel and budget and huge initiatives. It's very administrative.
Hmm.
So, it sometimes is it's a little sad, But when I see that work come to fruition, I'm really, really happy that I
Mhm.
spent all those long hours like writing a grant proposal, right? Because I see the benefit now that it has on students.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you're also a mom of 3,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yes. I have three little people, not so little, but I call them little people.
They will
One
always be little people in your eyes.
exactly. I'm still a
Yeah.
little person in my mother's eyes. But they're 18, three girls, 18, 14, and 4. And so, it's a lot of navigating being a
You said
mom.
3 girls?
Yes, 3 girls, 3
That's a
girls.
lot of sass in the house, huh?
Yes, yes, especially from my youngest. They're very different, all 3 very, very different human beings. My husband has fully leaned into being a girl dad, so that's
Oh,
always a
man. I
beautiful
feel
thing.
for him, actually, now that
Yeah.
I think about it. Lord, he's in trouble. Jesus. Shout out to you, my brother. Shout out to you. I know you
He
watching.
is he's fully leaned in. So,
That's
a
good.
lot of time navigating mom, navigating being a working mom,
Mhm.
being a leader in some ways in the home and of course a leader at work. So, I'm tired many days, many nights, but I do feel invigorated,
Mhm.
simultaneously invigorated when I see any type of effort, come to fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. And your 18-year-old, is she already college tours or is college in her future? What's that looking like?
Yeah, so she is on her way to college in the fall. And so searching for colleges is a full-time job. And I'm glad that we have resigned from that for another few years. But yeah, she's on her way to college this fall. She's just an awesome young person, and I'm really, really proud of her. And I heard you say is college in her future. It's like in our household, that's like not an option. So like
You
college
said
is
that
gonna be
standard.
in yes,
Yeah.
in all of their futures,
Yeah.
because I've worked at colleges, right, my entire professional career, and I really see how transformative it can be for young people. So I want them to have that experience.
I love it. So how was your experience? I mean, you kind of being behind the scenes for so long, working for a school, but I can imagine now you're seeing things that other schools are doing that it's like, hey, that's bad and this is good. What did that experience look like for you?
So, my college experience was interesting. I went to Penn State, which, I haven't kept up with their numbers, but at the time it was not extremely diverse.
Mm,
I sat in classrooms with people who had never interacted with Black folks, like never. I interacted with even administrators who had minimal interaction, with Black students. And I think that there were these moments where I was really sad and I felt really alone because there was an ignorance there. And I'm not using ignorance as a pejorative. I mean, they genuinely didn't know, right?
mhm, mhm.
That influenced how I was treated, how I was spoken to, how I was acknowledged. What made up for that is that I had some really phenomenal faculty who were in my corner, and who saw my potential and supported me, wrote recommendation letters for me for graduate school. And I, of course, ended up doing quite well. But I'd be remiss if I didn't speak about how difficult it can be, when you go into an environment that doesn't always take you into consideration.
Mhm.
And that has informed my professional ethos with respect to students. They should always feel seen, they should always feel heard. They should never feel like we've forgotten them, right? Or we haven't made accommodations for their lived experiences. And so that now influences a lot of the work that I do and how I approach the work that I do as well.
Love it. And did your daughter also have those college tours and you were able to learn maybe from those experiences as well?
So I was, and I got to tell you, we would get on Zooms, post COVID, even though you can visit in person, there's still a lot of Zooms.
Mhm.
And it would be like meet some of our students. And I'd get on. And if I didn't see a young person that looked like my daughter, I'd remove them from the list, and I would say to her, I highly doubt they couldn't find one of us, you know what I mean, to like put on a panel.
Yeah.
And it's not about, shaming people or, passing judgment or extreme judgment, I should say, over their decisions. It's more about thought processes, right? So, how is this institution thinking about building a class? How intentionally are you thinking about that? Because if you're intentionally thinking about it, you cannot forget that students who log on should see students who may have a shared sociocultural history, and it was difficult. It was a difficult conversation sometimes. She's like, "I really like the school," and I would tell her they couldn't find one person of color to put in front of us, like one. Some of these campuses had 30,000 students. I'm like, "You couldn't find one?" But that's what's important to my family. But once again, it spills over into my professional, career because I think representation is important. I've never shied away from that. And I think it's a way to see people is when you honor who they are,
Mhm.
ensuring that when they get to a place, there are folks with a shared history. And I think history is in our bones,
Love
right?
it.
And so that is important that students have that when they arrive at an institution.
I love it. I love that you think that far,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah.
say, "Hey, like, I really am thinking." So people don't think that's it's not small, but it's small, right?
Yeah.
Because when you think about the person that you're trying to get into, it's almost like really it's a sales, right? Like, "Hey, how do I really get this person in? I gotta make sure everything is so good." And
Yeah.
I think now we're in a place where we have enough data.
Mhm.
We know what it looks like before you even walk on campus or
Mhm.
jump on a Zoom call. So, did you take the time to really figure this person out? So, I ask you, Alexis, are you guys on point with data that you guys are also doing this and thinking about
Mhm.
outside the box?
Yeah, so we are absolutely, thinking about that. One of the things that we recently discovered at our institution is, out of nowhere, we saw this explosion in Nepali students. And we were like scratching our heads, like, where did all these Nepali students come from? Come to find out, there was a small group who came to LaGuardia, had an amazing experience. They started like calling home. And then they were forming like these WhatsApp groups here, right, in the US and saying, you know, go to LaGuardia, right? You'll be supported there. You'll be taken care of there. And next thing you know, it's like well over 1,000 Nepali students at
Wow.
the college or somewhere close to that number. And so, yes, we think about this because
Yeah.
when we realized that this population was exploding, we began to dig. We
Yeah.
began to dig. And this is really an enrollment function. We have an awesome VP of enrollment management. But on the student affairs side, resources into our Nepali Student Association, ensuring that their events are being supported, ensuring that their initiatives are being supported, right? So this goes back to seeing people, and data can absolutely help you get there if you're willing to dig. Because at first glance, data doesn't always tell the story. We
Mhm.
had to dig, and that's what we found out about the WhatsApp chats and the calls home and the LaGuardia will take care of you. But it's paid off. The poly student enrollment keeps increasing because we've
Love it.
invested in these students and data helped us get there.
Love it. And do you say that technology's also been a game changer, like, AI and really kind of investing into what the next generation may look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to be honest, transparent. I wasn't an early supporter of AI.
Oh.
I obtained my degrees when there was no Chat GPT or Claude, and you just slaved at a computer for 10 hours trying to churn
Yeah.
out a paper. And so there was a bit of snobbishness, when AI came on the scene. But I do believe it helps folks become much more efficient. I think it's the wave of the future and it's unavoidable, right? We
Mhm.
have to lean into it. And so right now, yes, the university itself has even revised its academic integrity policy to include AI. Our chief academic integrity officer is being trained on it. And most excitingly, this summer, we're actually running AI competency classes for students, and the class is free, right? And
Wow.
so it was a connection that our president had that he leveraged. And so I think it's just much better to lean into something that's inevitable. So it is something that we've definitely been thinking about and leaning into. It's here, it's not going anywhere, and we're working with it.
I
Absolutely.
love it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I actually in Central Florida, one of the largest districts in Florida, they're not using it at the high school level. So that you guys are doing that and providing it free, it's really helping people understand how to utilize it and the good and the bad in it. Because of course, I think that's what people are scared of is the negative, idea of using AI and how people will use it. And of course, I think it's like social media, it's like the website. People are going to use it for the wrong ways, but how do we educate our young kids that are coming out of high school that are going to use this in their future or using it now actually? How do we show them how to use it the right way? How do we create those guardrails and all those things? So it's always really shocking to me that at the high school level we're not teaching them because they're going to go to colleges and start that career. But I'm hearing that it's just teachers that are not educated around it or the fear of it. But it's like, it's a disservice to the next generation if we as adults or leaders in the space of higher ed or even at our high school levels to not teach these kids that, because
Agree.
there is such a benefit in it, right? You just mentioned how it really helps someone be more creative, a little bit more efficient, think outside the box. Because it's not that it does the work for you. Of course, sometimes it does, but it's how do you make that your own? Now you have a starting point. Now you don't got to spend 10 hours on a paper. I was actually reading the other day, we were going through some old like documents, almost 10 years old. And me and the other leader start laughing because it was so good. But this is
Mhm.
before ChatGPT. And it's like,
Yeah.
man, look at this. And this was before
Yeah.
ChatGPT. So
It's like, imagine what we could do now.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some of the things that you would love to, maybe you guys are not doing it, but that you guys would love to implement as you guys start to grow as an organization, as a school?
One of the things, and this is because I was a seat counselor and it was such an integral part of my career. I really saw the beauty of a small cohort model, real intense advisement, a lot of events and initiatives and just all around kind of support that was very tailored. I say all that to say, one of the things we're really thinking about is how we can give every student that type of experience.
Mm,
When I came from my former institution, I obviously landed at an institution 3 times its size. And so there's some logistical challenges with respect to instituting that, but we have been engaged in a lot of conversations about academic advisement, the academic advising experience, and how that can help students become, more successful and ultimately help them obtain the credential that they want. And I say all that to say, if we can move to a model, and this is something we've been discussing, where every student gets that high touch support, intensive advisement, intentional routing to events and support services, we think that we'll see some really beautiful outcomes in the future. It
I
is a
love it.
long road. It's very expensive to provide that to every single student. But I think that we've been making some subtle changes to get there. We've increased how many academic advisors we're hiring. We've poured a lot of funding into housing and food insecurity support as well. We've done a lot to increase funding for internships and fellowships. So we're trying to ensure that we're taking care of the students as a human being, right?
Mhm.
And as a professional in the future, and not just a student who kind of wandered in and enrolled for classes. We see you as a
Yeah.
human being, right?
Experience,
Yeah.
like, I think people don't realize that word is so crucial, that experience. You
Yeah.
mentioned from a Zoom call, from the application process, from the first day of school through my first year of school. What does that experience look like? Because at any moment that I feel like the school's not supporting me, I do
Mhm.
feel like I'm alone, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's
Yeah.
so easy for me to fall through the cracks at that point because no one's gonna notice, right?
Yeah.
And it's so crazy. I can tell the technology is changing a little bit. I've been out of college for, man, I was at Valencia Community College maybe 8, 9 years ago. But I can tell now that they're now getting into technology because now I'm getting like these random text messages. I'm like,
Mhm.
y'all
Mhm.
forgot me for 8 years. Like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Like now you want to hit me up? But is that experience that I think is what you're speaking to? It's like so people don't fall through the cracks. So people
Yeah.
feel like they're not feel, but know that there are resources. A
Yeah.
lot of times we don't know what we don't know.
Yes.
And I think it's how we're able to meet someone at where they're at. How does that look like? Right. I think we have all the tools necessary, great leaders. And I always say experience because experience is crucial in every aspect of life. I'm gonna tell you something that is has nothing to do with school. So here in Orlando, we have a septic tank. Well, not every place, but I have a septic tank. Have you ever lived with a septic tank?
No, visited
Okay,
houses with them, but
it
you have the
sucks.
big
Okay.
hump in your back.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It doesn't look that crazy, but I think the worst part about it is when the septic tank is full, that water's coming back up into your shower, right? And this water could be whatever was being flushed. Okay. So my wife was already having a panic attack. Now it was a Friday, so it's Saturday morning. I called somebody and I called this company because they were great the first time. But the second time, the experience, right? This man was trying to sell me on everything. And I had like two different people. I had one that he was from up north. This is the up north thing. He was selling me on every single little thing. Then I had an older gentleman that was really helpful and said, "Yo, you got a pressure wash? You got this?" Yeah, and he knew that the owner, 'cause the other guy was the owner. He said, "Hey, man, these guys are gonna charge you for everything. If you go X, Y, Z," and I appreciated that. But you know what? I also didn't appreciate that the other owner was selling me on everything and wouldn't even give me options, right? I don't know if I use that company again. And it goes back to if we're at a level where we're receiving help and we just feel like you're just selling us on, something that we do not know or don't even know how to get there, we feel overwhelmed. We feel like you're not hearing us. We feel like we're not seen, right? So I think the experience is so crucial. And you just kind of mentioned why you enjoyed being at that level because you knew
Mhm.
what you were pouring back into these students. What are you telling all these other advisors now? What are you leading into them and pouring into them to make sure that they understand that experience?
Yeah. So, a lot of these conversations obviously happen at the executive level and then it's shared with deans and directors and so on and so forth. The main thing that I tell them is say what you mean and mean what you say. And I'm so glad that you brought up that example, which actually is related to our conversation, because stop bringing students in under false pretenses. There are times where you have to have a tough conversation. I'm in a community college space. We have a number of students who have mental health issues. And there are times where I've had to personally sit down with a student and say, college might not be right for you right now because we don't have the supports that you need in place. We don't have a psychiatrist, for example, on staff to help you with medication management. And you've told us that you don't even have a psychiatrist in your personal life or an NP in your personal life, right? And I think a lot of folks shy away from turning students away, but I don't because you are bringing them in under false pretenses when you don't. And I'm not standing at the door saying you go left, you go right, right? It's not that deep. But there are times where I have to have a conversation and tell students, not right now, not right now. We cannot give you the support or help that you need right now. And it is something that the executive team supports. We are all on the same page with that. And so I think that is really important for colleges and universities to keep that in mind. I know everyone's worried about the enrollment cliff. Everyone's worried about competition. And then there's this socio-political pressure. You don't need college. So there's some of that, happening where you think
Hmm.
people are gonna, kind of go down a different path because folks are telling them you don't need college. No matter what happens, you got to do right by people. And if you don't have what they need, they deserve to know. And there are tons of students for whom we have what they need. And there are many that we won't be able to support because we don't have it. And I think the most honorable thing to do is what the second gentleman did, which is say, do you have X? Do you have Y? And do you have Z?
Yep.
As
Give
if
me
Yeah,
options.
exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So those are conversations that we're constantly having. I'm very fortunate in that that is something that is shared amongst all of us, including the president. And we're just not going to sacrifice bodies, human beings, in the name of enrollment numbers. With that being said, our enrollment has grown substantially.
Love
We're
it.
actually not suffering in that area. And I think it shows that you can be decent to people and tell them we're ready when we're ready when you are and still do the work to increase your enrollment, right? They don't have to be separate. We can definitely do both.
I love what you said. It's not it's not for you now,
Yeah,
right?
now.
I Because it's not what you say, is how you say it. And I say that because someone told me as I was graduating high school, Ephraim, you might as well get a job because school's not for you. Right. And just imagine a 17-year-old boy leaving high school that was already dealing with trauma and the mental and the sexual abuse and all that. And you just told me that I pretty much wouldn't amount to much. So go get a 9 to 5 job, right? I always say she got to tell me the rest of my, life and the rest of my story. But it is those moments that will make or break somebody,
Yeah,
right? And so for you to say, yo, it's not that you're not equipped for this. There's things that you have to do before you get here. And I think she should have told me that and being very mindful. But it is true. It's making sure that leaders understand how to meet people where they're at. And because going back to culture, sometimes you just don't know how to deal with that person. You've
yeah,
never experienced how to deal with that person.
yeah,
So instead of you trying to figure it out, you just go with the first thing that you just knew. Right.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
I love what you mentioned, and I love your leadership. I mean, a lot of things that you talked about is truly just your leadership skills, but it wasn't something that you were born with. I can imagine it was something that was kind of along your way. People were pouring into you. What are some of the things you remember from other leaders, from your own mom? You mentioned what your mom has done, your dad, you're a first gen student. What fuels you to be this leader? Like, what are the things that you keep telling yourself?
So, I think about women who have mentored me, and one in particular who began to mentor me many years ago, when I first started at Medgar Evers. I remember we would have this rush during registration. I mean, literally a rush, like seemingly 1,000 students sitting in this area that could accommodate 50 people, right, to register for classes. And the first time I experienced it, it was jarring. I had like never seen it before, but it was my first year at the college, my first advisement rush. And I remember walking out and seeing this woman who was the dean at the time. Literally, she had rolled up her sleeves and was sitting at a desk in the bullpen and helping people register students. And I never forgot that. And I'm talking about it now, and I don't think I've ever even told her this story. And she's mentored me for almost 20 years at this point.
Love it.
But it was the beauty of servant leadership. And what she taught me is that you can lead and still be right next to your people during the most challenging times
Mhm.
that they're experiencing at work. And it is something I've carried with me. It is not uncommon, even as VP, to see me folding t-shirts and moving tables. I mean, like we having an event and it's all hands on deck. It's all hands on deck. We had commencement a few, so I'm like on a golf cart and I'm carrying boxes, and this isn't work that's beneath me. I'm VP in title, but I am your colleague. And so everything that I ask my people to do is something that I would do myself. And that is a lesson that I learned very, very early on in my career. And I think it's what has helped me have such a critical mass of folks who come out. Like I've had people say, I'm only here because of you. And it is such a beautiful feeling. It's a little horrible for the other person who asked them, who found out they're only here for Alexis, right? But it's heartwarming because
Yeah,
you know that people, you ride for people and they're gonna
yeah,
ride for you, right? And
that part.
so she taught me that so early on, and I would never forget it. And then, really quickly on the parent side, this happens in a lot of families, but I think in Caribbean households, especially when you're first generation, there's this pressure, I would say, to follow a certain path. We really prioritize delayed gratification, in at least in my household and in a lot of Caribbean households. And there's always this sentiment that if you keep your head down and you work really hard, the reward will come. And so a lot of what I've been able to accomplish came with patience, actually, just knowing that I'm toiling now, but eventually it will pay off. And that's what
Mhm.
got me through 3 degrees, one of which I acquired when I had two of my girls.
Let's go.
Right. So the servant leadership, the persistence, the patience, the commitment to delayed gratification, all of those things have helped shape the leader that I am now.
I love it.
Yeah.
I truly do love the passion and the leadership skills. I think your mentor was fertilizing the future and she didn't even know it.
Yeah.
And you do
Yeah.
got to go back. I actually just called a old leader. I was 19 years old when I ran my first store. And and I was really thinking about where I got today of my leadership skills and realizing I was a leader. Like we, it's nothing that we try to be. It's in us, right?
Mhm,
Like this is who
mhm,
we are. And sometimes we want to turn it off, right? But it's just who we are. So I remember calling my old supervisor. I haven't spoken to this man in years, but just to let him know, man, I appreciate you dealing with the 19-year-old version of me. I'm 36 now.
mhm.
But because of those reasons where someone poured into me when life was really taken from me, when that lady told me, go get a job, I did. And I worked my ass off,
Mhm.
and I was able to open up my own stores and I was able to run $1 million locations. I was able to travel the world on somebody else's dime because there was people that seen more in me sometimes than I seen in myself. And it is those leaders that you just appreciate and they don't even know what they did for you. But
Yeah.
it's like, yo, I'm not who I am if I didn't see you do it first.
Yes.
That's why representation does matter. These are
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with a father, so seeing these males that were hardworking, that cared about other men,
Mm.
was important to me. And
Yeah.
I still hold that to this day. As you're right, I seen that same supervisor roll up his sleeves and get on the line and make subs when it was busy. He'll walk right in
Mhm.
and jump. I love that. And I
Yeah.
can't stand when I go to places now and it just irks my nerves when I see the managers just standing in the background. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh
Mine
my
too.
God.
Yeah, mine too. I get and, I always tell people there's, like, no one way to be a leader. I was fortunate enough to move through, my educational journey and become a professional in the profession relatively early, and there was a vibrance, that's the term I would use, I had because of my youth. And I lost count of how many people that, would tell me, "Oh, if you're gonna be a leader, you should speak this way and you should be this
Oh,
way." And when you come in the room, make sure you do this. And I'm just so glad that I grew up with parents who made me believe that I wasn't confined and I was good just the way I was. I mean, even to this day, like my mom thinks like I walk on water. Right. And it was a beautiful thing because I just never bent. I never bent. Like I just refused to do it. I remained true to who I was. And I would say it was about a decade ago when I started to see, oh wow, this worked out real well for me. Just being who I am,
yeah.
building the relationships that I've been able to build, and most importantly, the connections I've been able to make with you
Love
know
it.
what I mean? Like, I remember all of these dances, and I'm like, "I Millie rock on every block," and I'm like, start with them, and now I'm like, "Take me through this, take me through," and
Yeah.
they're like, all right, BB," and I'm
What's the
just
new one? What's the new one? They what's I forgot what the hell it is.
that one I forget, but I said,
My daughter was doing it. What is it? Man, I gotta think about it. I'm gonna ask my daughter what when I
yeah,
ask
which
her.
one that is, right? I'm just like, and sometimes they're on campus and they're like, "Hey," and I walk past and I jump in and I'm like, "Hey, we out here." So what? I can be that person and then go
Yeah.
churn out a grant proposal, right? And land 200 G's, right? So you can be both people. And this idea, especially this thing we tend to do to women and to women of color, that we have to lead a specific way, it's always been so disappointing because I've seen people remain true to who they are and totally be successful, you know?
Here I am thinking we're about to wrap up this conversation, but I
Yeah.
do want to talk about what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Being yourself,
Yeah.
authentically yourself is so
Yeah.
important
Yeah.
because people will tell you, as you mentioned, to be this, to do this. I was just having the conversation with my wife, and I was part of it. I'm still lead the organization actually, but before I led it, I was sitting around men that were 56-year-old men, Caucasian men, and I'm 30 some years old, but I don't look my age. That's one. And then two, people don't even know who I am, right? I'm new to the room. I'm
Yeah.
the diversity in the room.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember them saying, "Oh, don't worry, we'll mold him and to become blah blah blah." Because one day, but it's like you don't even know my past. I already been leading. I already had a nonprofit. When someone says we'll groom him, and I don't even know these. Like I got to look up these words. Like, are they bad words? And I think for so long we probably thought they were. That's another thing I was going to look at, but I I even think from a perspective of there's this black leader, right? A man that I show up authentically me. I'll show up in that NWO shirt. You probably don't see it because we're cut off, but I will show up authentically me. And I remember him looking at me and saying, "Hey, you want a better dress shirt?" I'm sitting there like, nah, I'm good. Like, I feel comfortable. You know what I mean? Actually, I think the kids are more approachable to me at this point than they are to you because
Yes.
he's in a suit and tie, right?
Yeah.
So then the next year, just to be an asshole, because that's just sometimes what I like to do, I put on the wrestling button up because now I'm in a button up. You can't say much, but I
Yeah.
love wrestling. That's who I am, right?
Yeah.
Authentically me. So what does he do this year? It's like, hey man, we should get you a blazer with the school logo here, this, and this. I'm like, I just start laughing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need that,
Yeah.
right? Because I do business like this and I win every single
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
People do business with people. And I think right now, more than ever, people want authentic people, right? And when we talk about the next generation, they're looking for authentic leaders,
Yeah.
right? They're looking for those that can be themselves, but also be professional and be a leader. And
Yeah.
and I think that's what a leader is. It's like, yo, you play the role,
Mhm.
but you understand that you're not better than anybody. That you'll still go clean that toilet, right, if needed. That
Exactly.
you'll still got the trash if
Yeah.
needed. So I
Yeah.
love that you said that. And I would actually leave you to the last thing of speak to the next generation of women your color,
Yeah.
because I think now more than ever you'll see a lot of them step up. You're seeing them step up. You're seeing them knock down these doors. They're going to hear those same voices that you've heard,
Yeah.
probably hopefully not as loud. But what do you say to those individuals before we wrap it up?
I tell them that you are enough. And it's really important to always check in with your gut because it is aligned with the universe. And what you believe is for you is absolutely for you. Do not give in to the noise. Do not give in to naysayers. And do not let that distract you. You'll be amazed at how many people are spending more time thinking about the negativity and the thing that nasty person said to them last week than about what they're going to accomplish next week. Right. And so you are enough just the way you are and trust yourself to be who you're destined to be. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Learn how to quiet that noise is what you just mentioned.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
love it. Alexis, thank you so much for your time. Where can people find more information on the school, but also you if they wanted to tap in?
Absolutely. So you can learn more about the wonderful Jewel of Queens, LaGuardia Community College at laguardia.edu. You can also learn more about me. I can be found on LinkedIn at Alexis McLean and on Instagram at I am Alexis McLean.
I love it. Alexis, thank you so much for your time, for your gems, for your wisdom, for being authentically you as a leader and being a representation for those that didn't think it was possible. I think that's always important as well. I'm Efrain. This has been Alexis. Great conversation. We'll catch you in the next one. Later.